Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Monday the 2nd of November 2020, and tomorrow is Election Day in the United States, where US citizens will go out to vote in their millions to determine whether Donald Trump has another 4 years or Joe Biden becomes the next president of the United States of America. Ahead of this vote, let's take a look at what the markets are doing. Yes, tomorrow is the day anxious Americans have been waiting for. The day that will ultimately determine who sits in the White House from the 20th of January 2021 for the next 4 years. Now, we can all debate whether it will be Biden because he's allegedly 10% ahead in the general polls, or Donald Trump because the polls are fake, until the cows come home. In a couple of days, if not tomorrow, we shall all know for sure, unless, of course, the vote is so close that the Supreme Court is involved. But what interests us is what has happened to markets today. Now, we're producing this at 18:30 GMT plus 1, so whilst UK and European equity markets are now closed, US markets are still open. The picture for equities is relatively clear today, or at least has been until now. Markets are up. European markets are broadly up 2%, and the Dow is currently up some 245 points, or nearly 1%, and the S&P 500 is up 23 points, though the Nasdaq is marginally down. Of course, this can all quickly reverse, but for now, markets are broadly positive. The dollar index is also up at 94.18, and gold is trading at $1,892, that's up $13, and silver is up 31 cents at $23.98, having initially opened some 26 cents down at $23.42. Now, these changes are not large in themselves and have been rather volatile within a relatively tight range, which we commented upon in our weekly update published on Saturday. So, what are the implications for gold and, as a result, silver? Well, Sunshine Profits analyst Arkadiusz Tsiron published this evening the following, which frankly we would broadly tend to agree with. Quote, "What does all the above mean for the gold market? Well, investors should look past the elections already. They matter less than many people believe. The 2016 presidential election is the best example of that. The price of gold indeed declined in the aftermath of Trump's victory, but the downward trend was eventually reversed. So yes, you should be prepared for elevated volatility this week. After all, we are about to witness not only the elections, but also the FOMC meeting and equally important economic reports, including the non-farm payrolls. However, as I've repeated many times before, gold's responses to geopolitical events are relatively short-lived. In the long run, what drives gold prices are the fundamental factors, and the fundamental outlook remains positive for the yellow metal. Both the monetary policy and the fiscal policy are extremely dovish. The public debt is ballooning, while the US dollar is weakening. The real yields remain negative. Nevertheless, the Fed will maintain its policy of ultra-low nominal interest rates for years, while inflation will accelerate at some point, possibly when the economic recovery sets in for sure. This means that the real interest rate should remain very low or even decrease further, supporting the gold prices in the process." Unquote. Now, the one thing that was missed in that, on Saturday, the United States reported over 101,000 COVID-19 infections, the most in any day ever across the whole of the world. And regardless of who wins the election, Congress will soon be passing a stimulus package to aid those individuals and businesses affected by the coronavirus. And this, of course, means the production of yet even more US dollars. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has today declared a lockdown situation for England, practically for 1 month, to prevent, quote, a medical and moral disaster, unquote. Now, the irony is that the economic data coming out of the US at the moment is still quite positive, as we saw last week. And today we've seen the ISM manufacturing index for October was as high as 59.3% against 55.4% in September. And the market manufacturing final PMI for October was up 0.1% compared with September at 53.4%. Now, we have a slew of data this week, as mentioned in our weekly update, and by Arcadius in his article just read. Looking at Reuters a few hours ago, we saw what we thought was quite an interesting article concerning the election. And we thought we would just show you this article because it basically reveals what we said on Saturday. There are too many variables to predict the outcome of the election and therefore the knock-on effect for gold and silver prices and the US dollar. So let's look at that article. Reuters article dated 2nd of November 2020. Headline: How investors are gaming out US election night. From the beach towns of Pinellas, Florida, to the suburbs of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Wall Street will be closely watching a few dozen counties on Tuesday night for hints on who will win the US presidential race. Investment firms faced with the prospect of a chaotic election complicated by an unprecedented number of mail-in ballots have hired political analysts and crunched voting data to try to identify crucial counties and Senate races that might tell them which way the vote is headed. Pinellas, home to St. Petersburg Clearwater, has picked the winner of every presidential election since 1980, except for the disputed 2000 vote. Bucks County, north of Philadelphia, is seen as an indicator of suburban enthusiasm for Democratic contender Joe Biden. The calculus is by no means definitive or comprehensive, with Democrats more likely than Republicans to vote early. For example, initial results from some counties could show a strong Biden lead that gets tempered or reversed as in-person ballots are counted. They're trying to find the signal from the noise. It can seem overwhelming, said Andy Lewin, who works with financial services clients for Washington lobbyist BGR Group. He sees Pinellas and another county in Florida, Sumter, as bellwethers for older voters. If Biden outperforms Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate in 2016 in Pinellas, or if President Donald Trump loses his margin of victory from 2016 in Sumter, the Republican is unlikely to be re-elected, he said. They are great proxies for investors on where the election is headed, Lewin said. A spokesman for the Biden campaign declined to comment for this story. Representatives for the Trump campaign did not respond to a request for comment. Several investment strategists singled out Florida as critical to Trump's re-election. The state, with 29 electoral college votes out of a total of 538, was vital to Trump's surprise win in 2016. The absolute most important thing to watch on election night is what happens in Florida. Ben Melkman, head of hedge fund firm Light Sky Macro LP, told Reuters during a recent online forum. Florida, along with North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas, all states that investors are monitoring closely, has already begun to process mail-in ballots. Election experts say these states will likely be able to count the majority of their votes by the end of the night. Biden is leading Trump in national opinion polls, but the race is tight in several battleground states, which can swing to either party and decide the race. Noel Dixon, global macro strategist at State Street Global Markets, said he was watching North Carolina's Bladen and Granville counties as indicators for the African American turnout. An increase would be a good sign for Biden. Ed Mills, managing director for Washington policy at Raymond James, views North Carolina's Mecklenburg, Wake, and Durham counties as indicators for suburban voters. The state also has a close race for the Senate seat held by Republican Tom Tillis. If North Carolina goes for Biden and Senate challenger Cal Cunningham, it would likely be a Democratic sweep, Mills said. But if Trump wins by more than a few percentage points, he would be thinking of a repeat of 2016. Other battlegrounds such as Pennsylvania and Wisconsin do not begin processing absentee ballots until Election Day, so experts say initial results will likely skew Republican, and the full tally could take days to complete. To get an early read on Pennsylvania, investors can look to Ohio, said Libby Cantrell, head of U.S. public policy at the bond fund manager PIMCO. The two states have similar voter demographics and both flipped in 2016, or should I say flipped in 2016 for Trump. If Trump wins Florida and Arizona, the outcome will rest on Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Alec Phillips, U.S. chief political economist at Goldman Sachs, said on a recent call for clients. Michigan's Kent County, where Trump beat Clinton by 3 percentage points, is on the watch list for John Lieber, U.S. Managing Director at Eurasia Group, as is Pennsylvania's Bucks County, which narrowly went for Clinton. Garrett Roche, chief market strategist at Uxbridge Capital, a New York-based private investment advisor, said he will be watching Michigan's Macomb County, where Trump outperformed by 6 points Mitt Romney's 2012 performance, and where Clinton underperformed former President Barack Obama by 10 points. In Wisconsin, Rhodes said he was monitoring Kenosha County, which voted for Obama by double digits, before narrowly going to Trump. Other investors said they were keeping an eye on Maricopa County, the most populous in Arizona. The longtime Republican stronghold has a growing Hispanic population that leans Democratic. Whatever the outcome, there or in other bellwether counties, it's clear investors have been searching for an edge, even if the results are far from certain. It's hard to know what to focus on, BGR's Lewin said, so everyone has their own secret sauce. So, there we have it. Too difficult to predict, and everyone has their own secret sauce. We would just rather, quite frankly, sit back, watch, and wait for the outcome. What do you think? Are we going to see a Biden victory, or is Trump going to hold on, or even increase his hold over the Senate? Do share your thoughts. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, not forgetting to press the bell sign so that you're notified of our videos as and when they're published. We've also today published a video on the Richard and Greg channel in our Empires and Dynasties series, where we talked about the empire of ancient Africa. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative. And if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management, and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.